So, when should we start SAT prep? My friend asked me this just last night. We were sitting in the backyard, we were having a barbecue, and her daughter is currently in eighth grade. And she turned to me out of the blue and she said, I'm starting to stress already. When should we start SAT prep? I get that question all the time. So today, I want to talk with you about the best time to start. My name is Kate Dowling. I am an SAT coach. I also happen to be a mom. My daughter, she is prepping for the SAT. I am also a high school teacher, so I have spent 2 decades in the classroom. I know how high school kids think and how they work. And today, I want to help parents know when to start SAT prep because I firmly believe parents need to stick together. So, here's the thing. The big answer is that your kid has to be ready. If you get the impression your kid is just not there, you don't want to waste time, you don't want to waste money. But if your kid has mentioned the future, if they've mentioned college applications, if they have mentioned the SAT and they seem like they're interested in it, well, maybe now is the time. Aggressive, the earliest to start would be the spring of 10th grade, the spring of sophomore year. Now, most people don't do that. That is only if your kid seems really ready to go. But most people sit down at some point in the summer before 11th grade and talk to their kid. And they start to figure out goals and what their kid might be thinking about for college applications. And then you're going to want to start to map out exact test dates. The latest you can take an SAT is the fall of senior year. There's an October test, there's a November test. That November test in 12th grade is probably the last one you can take to then be able to turn around the score and send it out to colleges if you want to apply that very year. It is best, but not required, to have finished Algebra 2, or at least taken most of it. So a good thing to do is talk to your kid about what math class they are in right now. If they are through a lot of Algebra 2, they're going to have a much easier time with the math on the SAT. A couple things to know from the start. Most people take the SAT 3 or 4 times. This is not a one and done situation. That would be very unpleasant. That first test, I tell people to think of it as a warm-up test. A kid goes in, the proctor is there, they go through the sign-in process, and they take that first test, and they're just getting warmed up. Usually when they leave, they think to themselves, oh, I messed up the timing a little bit, and they could have trained, but still there's something different about that first time you take that test. So you think about it, you reflect on it, and then you go in and you take your target test. That's test number 2. A lot of kids walk out of that test and they say, you know what, I'm still on the ups. And they'll go in for a third test, and we're going to call that the bump it up test. Some even will do that twice and take a 4th test. But it's good to wrap your head around taking this thing probably 3 times at least. So when is this test offered? The College Board, that's a company that offers the SAT. They offer it 8 times a year. They offer it in the end of August. I live in New York. It's hard to get a testing spot at the end of August in New York because most schools don't actually offer it here. They're closed. But schools around the country offer it at the end of August. Local high schools offer this thing in September, October, that's early September, early October, early November, December, March, May, and June. Some schools do offer a school day SAT. That's usually in April. So what do I suggest? I suggest you talk with your kid. See how they feel about the SAT. Think about sports seasons, if they do the play, if they have an after-school job. Think about just where their time is going, because you want to be able to commit time to prep and then cruise into that first warm-up test, and then that target test, and then that bump it up test. So if your kid's going to be very busy in the spring, because let's say he plays baseball, you might want to begin SAT prep in the summer before that 11th grade year. And then you might want to hit the fall run of tests, maybe a September, October, November test, and get this thing done. December could be like a backup, and get this thing done before the baseball season starts. If you feel like your kid's just not ready in the summer before their junior year, there is something to be said for letting them go into school, talk with their friends in the cafeteria, and then maybe suddenly in the fall, they come to you and they say, hey, you know what? A lot of people are taking the SAT. Let's think about this. And that's great. And then you can start prepping in the winter, and you could hit that March test that May test and that June test. I hope this is helpful. Definitely check out the link below to get more information on the SAT, and you can always book a call with me. I am here to help.